What's up, everybody? This is George the Tech, Bikerowave head mechanic, 13 years running. I never build new bikes. Never. I don't get bikes out of boxes. I don't buy bikes online and get them shipped to me to pull out and cut the zip ties and put together. No, that's not what happens at Bikerowave. That's not what happens in my life. Well, things are changing today. Look what I got over here. I'll tell you the whole story, but essentially, I think it may be the world's, or at least the cheapest, proper cargo bike you can buy in the US. I'm making that claim right now. So we're gonna find out, is it any good? Is this bike made in the Shanghai Biking district of Tianjin, China? Worth the money? And if it is, I'll tell you where I got it and how much I paid for it. All right, we're gonna do first person POV today. I got my chest strap on here, and you'll get to watch the whole process of assembly with me. All right, let's do this. Okay, does this have the right POV? Let's make sure I'm not pressing buttons. Hands in frame, hands in frame. Hands in frame. Okay, I think we got it. All right, let's start with cutting a bunch of zip ties. Yeah, cutting a bunch of zip ties. Now, I'm frugal and I like the environment. So what I do is I cut my zip ties so I can reuse them by cutting them right at the right spot where you get the maximum amount of zip tie left over to use at another time. Again, frugal, and I like the environment, both. All right. Booyah. This thing blows my mind because it's not only an aluminum bike, which is common nowadays, but it's an aluminum bike with a integrated rack. And that's not unusual. Integrated racks are no big deal anymore. But the kind of rack, it's mind-blowing. It's that kind of a rack. The rack is built into the frame or attached, and it has the small front wheel to make the bike feel and handle like a normal bike, but have a low center of gravity. All right, so I can probably lift this whole thing out of here in one shot. Yeah, that's what it feels like it wants to do. Okay, I'll do that. But yeah, I mean, it even comes with fenders. Which makes it even more an actual practical, useful piece of transportation in most of the United States. Here is the rack that it comes with. This piece alone is probably worth north of $100. Not bad. Doesn't look too bad. Welding looks pretty solid. Not awesome welding. Extremely rapidly welded, but decent. It doesn't look super stout and sturdy, but it carries some stuff to the beach, pieces to a meeting. I think it would be cool. All right, more zip ties. Nobody wants to watch me cut and unzip zip ties, so let's magically get this bike out of the zip ties. All right, now we're in a place where we can put this up on the stand. Well, almost. What we need is the seat and the seat post, so it has something to mount to. First thing that surprised the hell out of me was this adjustable height stem and what's printed on it. Giant. It's made by Giant. Okay, I think that's a good sign. I think it's a really good sign, actually. All right, so let's get the seat posts probably out of here. I'm hoping it's in there. It's a good time to do a project like this for me. Normally I'd be riding this time of the day, but I've had several run-ins with gravity lately. And I'm pretty beat up right now. I've got a sprained left wrist thumb area. I've got a slightly sore lower back. Steel seat post. That's gonna get replaced very quickly. 30.4. A 30.4 seat post? The hell is that? It's just some not so bad looking pedals. An assembly manual. Don't think we'll need that. And tools. I think it looks like all the tools you need. Obviously we already have tools. Reflectors, which I will be installing. I live in the city. All right, this is the only real disappointment so far is this steel seat post, but it's all right. Interesting that it's a 30.4. Is this becoming a new standard that I'm not aware of? All right. All right, there she is. First look, really out of the box. The branding is so fascinating. Petcare. I don't get that at all. Did they expect this to become like the ultimate pet owner's bike because they'll want to carry their pets around on this? Maybe that's where it came from. There is quite a bit of care that went into packing this thing, though. I tell you, they put a false axle in the dropout to the fork to prevent that from getting in any way misaligned or bent in shipping. Kudos to that. That's impressive. I don't know if I've seen that before, but again, I haven't unboxed any new bikes in ages. Power brand brakes, pretty much what I expected, a very inexpensive OEM cable actuated disc. But as long as it functions correctly, and replace the pads with some good pads, probably. I should see no reason why I shouldn't have any problems. Cranks are 170. Good choice, I say. 170 is a good choice. 175 is getting a little bit long these days, and this isn't a very big bike. This is it's a one size fits many. I don't think there's any frame size options, and it's supposed to fit someone between 5'4" and 6 feet, I believe. It's a pretty wide range. It's got what you kind of expect in terms of price point of a derailleur, but it is still a Shimano tourney derailleur. There is cheaper than that, believe it or not. So props to having proper Shimano derailleur. Might get an upgrade in the not too distant future. It's a 7-speed freewheel. 7? Yeah, 7-speed freewheel. Yeah, pretty much par for the course for really cost-effective, price point bikes. Maybe we can get a bigger range, like a mega range on this. I think I'm gonna probably need it. Hub says Shang Fu. It's laser etched. I don't know if you can see that, but the hub is laser etched. Shang Fu. That's pretty cool, actually. All right. Let's look around this side, make sure there's nothing else hindering. It's got a nice proper kickstand. All the hardware is like proper bike part stuff, not ultra cheap department store. This came from a department store, yet it doesn't look necessarily like it came from a department store. I gotta say, so far, so good. All right, now we can get the stem up in place. It looks like it's already even pre-greased. No, it is not pre-greased, so I'm gonna go grab some grease. All right, we got some grease here. Put a little coating of grease on the inside of the steerer. Always a good idea to prevent things from corroding and then binding up later on. Although it is a steel steerer and a steel stem, well, the stem retaining wedge is steel, but the stem itself is aluminum. So again, it's good to have these things lubricated so that they don't create a permanent bond, as steel and aluminum can do when they're left to the elements a lot. And this is the kind of bike that might be left to the elements a lot. I think people would probably leave this outside. Maybe not. Actually, it depends where you live. I definitely won't be leaving it outside. Let's take this little retaining, again, really nice touch, you guys. Thanks for doing that. And the stem is in its absolute most vertical position for packaging, I guess. So release, try to release. Looks like it has a safety catch. There you go. Release. There we go. Drop this guy into place. Now to get to the bolt that tightens this thing down, that's going to be interesting. That might be the one time I need to open the manual to see how to get to that bolt. But I have a feeling that if you put this in the right position, it might be possible. No, that is not the case. So once you put this in the correct position, there's actually a point where you can actually see all the way down and through and see the bolt. And I don't know if this three-way is going to reach. You might have to go, yep. Gonna have to use a long handle wrench. It did come with the wrench, but I've got some wrenches handy here. Let's see if we can get down to the bolt. Yes, we can. All right, we don't need to go minimum insertion. We can go somewhere in the middle and just snug it up. That done, I can take the bars off. Got a bar protecting foam. Get our first look at the components on the cockpit. One of the best tools in the part toolkit is this pair of scissors. Must have. All right, nice, cheap but nice, comfortable mushroom style grips. I'm digging that. Proper Shimano V-brake combo shifters, what you'd probably expect at this price point, but better than the cheapest stuff. So very much a useful, functional thing. Totally flat bar, zero rise, but that's because they have a super rise Trans X stem. So all the adjustment you could ever need is right here in the stem. Maybe we should just get the front wheel on there. Another thing I actually do like, everything's bolt on, no quick release. Checking the lock nuts on the cones. Sometimes they are loose from the factory or misadjusted. They are not misadjusted. And sealed cartridge bearings, okay, love that. We've got our little wheel safety retainers, which is really, really good to have for safety reasons. Especially with a cargo bike carrying a lot of extra weight. So we got to get those little hooks into their positions. Should have shot this with my Insta360 instead of my iPhone, because it would have been a lot easier I would never have to mess with the phone to get it into the right position, but it takes too much time to edit. Okay. pulling the wheel tightly up into the dropout, giving it a snug. Pretty small brake rotor for the front, but it is also a small wheel, so you have more braking mechanical advantage. So hopefully that won't matter that much. Don't you love living near the airport? I do. It is down here, and weirdly, you have 4mm hex here, and here you have 8mm socket. Anybody in the comments knows the logical reason why you would use different hardware for those two mounting points, let me know. I'd sure love to know. All right. Loctite applied. Okay, rinse and repeat. So these other mounts are for mounting other types of racks. So it looks like it's ready for a rear rack, which, knowing me, it's probably gonna have one. Because if I can find an accessory for a bike, it's gonna go on the bike. Everything except my coaster brake. Minimal crap, minimalism. No wires, no nothing on the cockpit. I love that about coaster brake bikes. Everything else, accessories galore. All right. It looks like it's rubbing the wheel, so it's going to take some tweaking on these fender mounts. And the brake alignment is definitely way off. The pads are dragging like crazy on the outside. So let's snug up the wheel nuts, make sure the wheel's straight, and then we'll realign that brake pad. Okay, these are nice and tight. Wheel looks straight in the dropouts and the frame, nothing looks weird there. Cartridge bearings in the rear too. So we got cartridge bearing wheels. Tight squeeze on the tools back here, getting this nut loose. Really tight clearance here. This is where I want one of those really nice long T-handle hex wrenches. I had a set and they were stolen. I know what I should be doing is squeezing the brake lever to manually hold the brake pads tight while I tighten this, but I'm gonna go by the eyeball method. Good news is that when you tighten those two bolts, the brake pad stayed exactly where I put it. That means the slots are in the right place, they're drilled in the right place. The mounts, the post mounts are also in the right place on the frame, which I've had bikes that aren't. Okay, that looks better. It does seem now that all the drag is happening in the fender. So it's gonna take some extra time. Actually, it looks like loosening these two, or one of these bolts here, might actually be the solution. This is probably the manual to do this, I bet. Can I move the fender? Yeah, you can see the fender mounting hardware. It's like not even centered on the fender. Well, it's less worse. All right, that's one minus, is that this bracket here was mounted off center on the fender. So that's gonna give me a lot of headaches. So I'm gonna have to get out. I'm gonna have to take this thing off and manually manhandle it and straighten it out so it doesn't rub the tire anymore. Well, we'll do that boring part off camera. Let's fix it in 3, 2. So I did a combination of loosening this bolt because it was rubbing on this side. I loosened this bolt and pulled this arm out and gave it a little more tension. But then at the end of the game, at the end, it was just grabbing the entire fender and just twisting the hell out of it to get the alignment better. But the clearance on that fender is insanely tight. It's not perfect, but it is dramatically better. And anything that's rubbing now, I believe, is probably the brake pad. But again, I'm gonna leave that be for now. I'm slightly paranoid about that if I actually really did tighten these calipers well, so I'm gonna get them extra snug. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. Any monkey business with the front brake necessary? Same kind of deal. It's rubbing on the inside. Now these are adjustable. Thankfully, they actually have an adjustment to adjust the drag on the inner pad. So let's loosen that just a slight amount. Now it's not dragging anymore. Beautiful. It does not have adjustment on this side, so all you're going to really do is increase the cable tension a little bit to pull back the brakes. You even start with the barrel adjuster slightly out, which is not a bad place to start actually. So whoever prepped these bikes and actually designed and engineered them for assembly, they're bike people. In fact, the way it comes factory with the adjusters halfway out, you can probably tighten the brake all the way up first and then just back off the adjusters. So let's try that. We're going to bring the adjuster about halfway out. We're going to bring the bar adjuster a few turns out where it was. We're going to cinch the caliper up tight. There's basically no travel at all. Now we're going to turn the barrel adjuster in all the way, which to the right is looser. Right is less tension on the barrel adjusters. Better, still a little bit of drag, but we also have the barrel adjuster and the brake lever. That's about the amount of travel I like. Just the weeest amount of drag on the actuator side. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to let that work itself out. All right, for those who are a little anal about alignment, you'll see that the bar is not perfectly centered in the stem. We'll put the saddle on. There's a front fender to put on. We got to put the rack on. But I'd like to get the saddle in place so I can sit on it and see how things line up. And guess what? That usually needs a 14 or 13, which I didn't bring out. But if they give you one of those one for all wrenches, so I might as well make use of it right now. Gives you a pretty wide comfort saddle, kind of a make everybody happy saddle. We'll see how long that lasts on the bike. For me, probably will end up putting a WTB something or other on there. I don't even know if you guys can see this. Not that it's interesting, I'm just tightening the saddle pinch bolts. Wow, look how tall that saddle is. I think it's just a little bit above maximum insertion. Put it closer to where I would want it. Somewhere around there. Yeah, the bar is not in the right spot. The bar is sweeping down, like downward a little bit right now, because this is not in the right place. So I need to read instruction manual before use and adjust the position of the bars. So pausing on that. Here's the manual, by the way. Kind of silly of me to throw the manual away in first shot. I guess that's just kind of like my attitude on bike manuals at first, but it's a good manual. Totally nice manual. Obviously written and made for American market or English speaking market. Lots of nice labels, tools that they recommend you bring and tools they include. Nice little orientation. The explanation of this setup here. Let's see if by some miracle they actually show you how to get inside and adjust the handlebar rotation in the clamp. A lot of information about setting up your brakes. Awesome to see that. Yep, that's about it. By the way, the brand that actually is distributing this is called Zukka, Z-U-K-K-A. And they have a proper email address, no phone, but email service at zukkabike.com. Nice to see that. So, all right, we're gonna have to forge ahead with a little bit of investigation to figure out how to get inside the stem clamp and adjust this handlebar rotation, because it is way out of whack. Freaking eureka moment. As soon as you release the tension on the system, you're also releasing the tension on this clamp for the bars. Dude, freaking genius design. So when you rotate the stem to full vertical or drop it all the way down for sporty mode, I'm gonna go old man mode since my back's been a little bit tweaky lately. I'm gonna recenter this, clamp her down, boom. Nice. Nice design, nice design. Dude, I'm highly impressed by that. So far, so good. So what's left? Front rack, front fender, pedals, air in the tires, maybe a chain lube. It's probably got factory lube, but chain lube, test ride, realign the brakes. I think the rest of it's ready to go. Looking good so far. And the paint job is a nice color. Very muted blue, almost gray. It's pretty. So the mounting flap or flange on the fender goes behind the fork. Bolt comes out. And then the fender brace mounts way down near the dropout. All right, got it. I can handle that. Let's just snap this on here. Last major component is the funnest part of all. The reason why you're all here, I think, is the rack. Absolutely want to Loctite these things. Abso-freaking-lutely. I've got blue thread lock compound. That's the most popular and common. You can also get orange, which is a lot more permanent. But do not use red compound because red is truly permanent. That's the kind of stuff they use on engines, on things that should never come apart. Yeah, there's paint and stuff in there. No, I'm not gonna chase the threads, nerds. All right. Let's grab our rack. Just looks like the cables just kind of get smushed behind the rack. See if there's a better, is there any better way to do it, or do they just get smushed? What if this goes under? Nope, that doesn't like that. What if this goes under? Nope, that one goes underneath that one. What if you do redo that one? Doesn't like that either. What if we go under and smush? Looks like under and smush. All right. So let's do it this way. Put our rack over here. Thread lock all of our bolts. Okay, all the bolts are thread locked, coated. We're gonna go up, under, and finger tight our first bolt. Not even finger tight, just place the bolt. Second bolt. Third bolt. Looks like it's going to take a little stretch to get it around and onto the posts. I'm lifting up on the rack quite a bit to get the thing to line up. Kind of a tough thing to do by yourself, to get that to line up. Come on, you son bitch. Shit. This is gonna be put up a little fight, I can see. Did I get it in far enough? Yeah, I can see it already cross-threading. No cross-threading allowed. There we go. Be really careful not to cross-thread your bolts. Did they put all 4 posts in the right place? Do they all line up without cross-threading? They do. Good job, guys. Getting those posts welded in the right place at the factory with 0 oval slots drilled into the rack for adjustability. Very brave, but it lines up. Wow. I'm pretty actually amazed how well those did line up. Just had to twist the brackets just a little bit to get them to line up, but that wasn't too bad at all, really. Now, the factory weight of this bike, as shipped, is claims to be 32 pounds out of the box. That's pretty good for a cargo bike. Not bad. There it is. Let's admire our work. Pump up them tires and, oh, pedals. Let's go with the pedals. I got some really cool pedals to put on, but I think we'll just start with the, factory pedals. The bearings, as usual, as new pedals are super tight. They're going to break in, hopefully. The drive side pedal is smooth, and the non-drive side, or the left side, has grooves. They're threaded the opposite of each other. That's how all bicycles are. A little bit of grease on the threads is highly, highly recommended, because you're going steel into aluminum, and you do want to get these off someday. So definitely put a little bit of grease on the threads. Now the bearings are so snug that I can just turn the whole pedal. So it actually ends up being to my advantage. Hi. And the way to remember which way to turn each pedal is they always turn up into the front. So no matter which side you're on, they turn up into the front to go on. Okay, you just need a 15mm wrench to tighten those on. I'm not going to use a big old pedal wrench. Don't really need them to be that tight. Give her a good push down snug. One more rotation, 2 more rotations to get that thing tight. Pulling up. Okay, that should be snug enough. All right, a little bit of air in the tires, and now we can take it for a spin. Okay, time for a maiden voyage. Why is the fender still rubbing? I raised it up way, okay, so the bracket's still being a pain in the ass. Fenders definitely add another layer of frustration with the bike build. Yeah, just never ending frustration with fenders. They have a really stout bracket, so you can't just sort of push it into place. You have to really, yeah, it's still gonna rub. So annoying. It's terrible. Hoping if I loosen the bolt on this eyelet here, there's a way to get a slight amount of adjustment. Not really though. There's no wiggle room on this thing. Freaking fenders, dude. The thing in the top is up higher now, and it's centered, but the 2 brackets are not. Just like on the rear, not bent correctly. So you'll probably have the most trouble of all on this bike with just getting the fenders set up right. Because there's zero adjustability. Seems like the problem is actually more on this side in the alignment of this bracket. Beware. If you live in LA like me, you may not bother with the fenders, but okay, so which way should I bend this way? It's still rubbing like crazy on the, what is that, the drive side? I'm doing all this with the wheel on and the discs there, so I keep touching the discs by mistake. Never a good thing. You do not want to touch your disc rotors and contaminate them. That happens, and I probably did. Use some acetone nail polish remover to clean the rotors thoroughly. I may be doing that. So as soon as this thing, yeah, I can see, as soon as it tightens, the problem is all right here at this angle. Okay, what I ended up doing was I bent this one down towards the ground more. And that seems to be the spot. So it was rubbing on the side I'm on now, and I bent that arm way downward to force it and get the rubber mud flap off the tire. I think that's the one, dude. That's not in the manual. That's a weird sound. That is the end of the cable, brake cable in the rotor. Make sure it's on the outside of the rack. Now the weirdest thing about riding a cargo bike with a fixed rack, if you've ridden any normal bike or a bike with a rack on the bar, is the rack does not move when you turn. And I'm telling you, it is going to mess with your head for a minute or 10 to not see the rack moving. The brake lever is too high an angle. I'll loosen that up a little bit. But let's see if it shifts correctly. I didn't even check the shifting at all. Right out of the box. I don't know what that clunking sound is. That was only in 4th gear. Needs a little more attention. Oh, cheap prices are starting to catch up to me. There's no barrel adjuster on the shifter. Where you really need it the most, there's no barrel adjuster. Loss of point there. Okay, now that I've got a test ride, the brakes actually do work. They work. Totally not broken in, and they actually work. Okay. I know I need to lower the nose of the saddle. I gotta tighten the saddle, clamp, lower the angle on this brake lever. I think that's most of it. Here's a pro tip. Don't tighten the bolts, the pinch bolt on the levers all the way. Leave them just a little bit loose. So if you crash, they can move slightly and they don't break as easily. And while you're actually riding, wow, these are super tight. They don't need to be tight at all. Just loose enough so that you can actually adjust them a little bit while you're actually riding. I do need to tension my derailleur, so I'm going to go to my barrel adjuster on the derailleur and turn it to the left about a half a rotation. So there's something dragging quite a lot right now, especially when I roll backwards. Something's really dragging. It's weird. It's got to be the fenders. Let's just bend these up out of the way. We might have to bend them more off the bike. That's better. All right, that works for me. Everything's mostly tight now. I think everything's tight actually. Brakes are decent. Again, totally not broken in. Definitely something to investigate on the 4th cog of the freewheel. Yeah, that is definitely not normal. And now it's going away. That could mean that there was a piece of machining on a tooth that was out of alignment or slightly out of alignment or just needed to be deburred. Oh, no, came back again. Yeah, on 4th gear, link is close. Well, that'll get some more investigation at the Bikerowave when I come in there next time. Hey, look, water. See? It does get wet in Los Angeles. Shift is also clunking. Zero clunking in 3rd, so 4th and 5th clunk. 6th slightly. No clunking in 7th. So there's something amiss with the free wheel. So that's going to need some more investigating. Bottom bracket's not loose. take my saddle and slide it as far back as possible. Might feel a little bit short. A little short, a little bit over the bars, but I'm 6 feet tall. It ain't bad. I think I like my handlebar position too. And the relatively low step over height is appreciated, especially when you're carrying cargo. You don't want to tip the bike over too much to get on and off. If I'm gonna be really picky, I would love for this step height to be even lower, coming down here for easier on and off, but that's about it. Anyway, there it is, the Meghna Petcare from Target. How much did I pay? $350 shipped. I'll even show a screenshot of the receipt for proof. You just have to be clever when you search. Just search for cargo bikes on Target's website, and you'll see a whole bunch of different versions of the same bike, different names, but they're all likely the same, and that's what I got here. Don't search for Meghna, search for cargo bikes. Some quick fine-tuning notes. Fender is still rubbing a little bit. Tire has a little bit of a hop, and you can see the limit screw on the rear derailleur isn't quite tight enough on the high. You can see it's not quite, it's a little too far over. So we're going to adjust the limit screw, and that might be all we got to do. I don't know what's causing the clunking in these gears and these cogs. These could be slightly bent. I don't know. I don't think it's going to affect its performance, but this is probably the first part I'm going to replace. These are so cheap to replace, by the way, like less than $20, $15 maybe to get a new freewheel. All right. So when the derailleur is extending beyond the small cog slightly, that means the high limit screw is too loose. Take a Phillips or flathead, find the limit screw that says H for high. You'll see the derailleur actually physically move in alignment. Same thing on the low side. What I do is I can't pull the cable because there's no cable here to pull because it has a continuous housing to the front. So I'm going to shift it one click at a time and make sure with each click it firmly jumps to the next cog. Now it does. Looks like high limit screw is fine. It doesn't want to leap off and go into the spokes. That way you don't have to worry about the dummy disc. What do we call those things? Sissy disc? Dork disc. That's right. The brakes work fine. Everything works fine. There's nothing really way out of whack. Everything has fine functionality. Just not refined. But what do you expect for $350? Dude. First accessory. You know it. It's gonna go right here. Another accessory. There it is. This thing has gone between many different bikes and gone through absolute hell off-road, and it's still good. It's called the Lamicall phone mount. It's all plastic, but dude, this thing is held up. It's amazing. Another must-have is the easy-to-reach snack and drink holder. This one is a slurper. Can't quite see it. The snack slurper bag. This thing rules. It's been on a lot of bikes too. It's pretty dirty. It's got a place for 2 bottle cages, but I have a feeling a frame bag's gonna go in here. I have a very good feeling about that. And the final accessory. Oh shit, dude, you have no idea how all these speakers get. Yeah.
So I just did about a 10-mile shakedown. Still clonking away on 4th gear. Silent under coasting. Under load, it clonks in only 4th gear. So all I can think is that the freewheel itself is garbage, that the cogs are not riveted well together and they're slipping and jostling. And there's nothing you can do about that. You throw out the freewheel and you buy a new one. Okay, so that's one new part I'm gonna buy right away, and the other thing is the seat post. These kinds of cheap seat posts with the adjustable saddle that's just held on with a single bolt. They absolutely suck. It's already come loose on me, and now the saddle is sitting low in the rear, which is really uncomfortable on my taint. So that's gonna have to get replaced. So seat post and freewheel. Grand total cost of new parts for that about $30 to $40. Still not complaining at all. Held together great. Carried the load I have on the front beautifully once I screwed it down. There's holes in the rack so I could screw right into the wood, and it's awesome. Totally a joy. And I got a lot of compliments from people saying, cool setup, love the bike. So what else could I say? Keeping the accessory party going. Just got back from the ride. Make sure you really tighten the hell out of these 13mm nuts. You got to use a real wrench, not the thing they give you. You'll never get enough torque. These ESG kickstands just came off this clunker over here, which I was using as like my cargo clunker or whatever bike. By Pleitcher. These are the coolest kickstands in the world. Because watch this. Folds down, and then you get two sides to the kickstand. Roll back the bike. Booyah. Two legs. All the weight stays centered. And it doesn't tip over. Is it gonna tip over? Yeah, if you push it hard enough or it's windy enough. But so stable when you want to have a load on the rack. So, okay, there's another upgrade I recommend. $50 for one of these kickstands. But if you're really gonna use it for what it's designed for, I recommend it. Oh, and have your brother who has a 3D printer print you a banana holder while you're at it. All right, for sure, you guys are going to know what the hell the speaker system is on here. It's a fakakta setup, but for right now, it's doing what it needs to do. The mounting is really cheesy, but let's tell you what's on here. The speakers are Tannoy Arena. Yeah, you've never heard of those. You maybe have heard of Tannoy, but these little two-way speakers are unbelievable. They're just miniature PA speakers. They have a really good output. They can handle 70 watts continuous. They're coaxial, meaning that the drivers are coaxial, meaning the tweeter is inside the woofer. So they're more compact, and the sound that comes out of them is nothing short of amazing. I mean, these are basically studio monitor grade speakers. Then what are they attached to? We've got a really cheap amplifier I got on Amazon. That's an FM radio. It's got line in, Bluetooth in. It's rated at 100 watts total, probably 50 watts per channel. Okay, I think that was no more than $30. 40 you're overpaying. Okay. It even has memory card playback. It has 2 mic inputs for singing, speaking, treble and bass, and the mic volume control, one mic volume for both mics. And then this is like a $50 car starter jumper that just so happened to have a 12-volt output. So we just got this little short coily cord, 12 volts from there to the 12-volt input on the amp, and it works beautifully. The amp does have a power cord too, which I haven't committed to cutting it off yet, but I probably will. I don't know when I'll ever leave it plugged in. And then that's the whole rig. Oh yeah, so this thing's made by Carhev, or is it? I can't even read it. There's a million of these things, but the lucky part was that it has a 12-volt output, not just a jumper output and not just a USB output. The only tricky thing about this is it shuts itself off if it doesn't have enough current draw, and the amp doesn't draw that much current, so it'll shut off if the volume is low. So what I found was turn it on and make sure its built-in light is on. As long as that light's on, it will not shut off. And you get a reasonable amount of runtime on this, probably 3 or 4 hours at least at a good volume. So there you go, about 30, 50, that's 80. These speakers I bought for $30 for the pair. They're probably worth closer to 80 to 100, but you might find them online cheaper. They've been dropped. They've taken a freaking beating, these poor speakers, and they still work perfectly. The grills fell off at one point and got damaged. Poor things. But man, do they sound incredible. Tweeter on the inside. Right there. There you have it. That's the system. I have a feeling another thing I'm going to do, because, yeah, I'm a bike hacker. I can't stop, won't stop, is these Nito back sweep bars, these Townie bars I put on here for ultra comfort. I think they're going to go on here. I think it's going to give me the last bit of comfort I need. But not just comfort, being able to see where you're going in the city. You want to be ultra upright, and having the bars back sweep like that gives you that visibility. And with this easy adjust stem, I can drop it to a nice low height, get the bars where I want them. I'll be more comfortable, be able to see. It's going to be a total win. Hopefully, it looks to me like there's enough cable slack on all the cables that I won't have to change a single cable or housing. That would be a huge win, because it always seems like you do when you go with these kind of bars. But we're not going to do that one today. We're going to hold out a little bit, but that's the next swap and upgrade. More little accessories. This little accessory light mount was strapped to the legs of this walled pizza rack that I had on my bike, which was fun but dangerous and pretty horrible to use. So now it's on here. So I may put my light down here. Haven't decided yet. It's certainly hard to get to when it's down there, but Cockpit gets kind of crowded, so we'll see if it ends up there, but it's there waiting. And notice how the fork has got 1, 2, 3, 4 braze-ons. Well, I guess 3 if you don't count the fender mount. 1, 2, 3. I mean, geez, it's crazy. Do I recommend this? For $600, I'd say it's a good bike. For $350, insanely good value. Embarrassingly good. I mean, it's actually a fairly nice bike. This is not department store level components at all. It is proper bike components. Seems made well. Steel seat posts, I'd get rid of that, but I'll upgrade the pedals, always do. What else would I change? New brake pads, probably not too long from now. Eventually I'll replace the brake levers and shifter because I'm a snob. And I'll put a mega range freewheel so I have a super easy climber for lots of weight. That's it though. $100 or so worth of upgrades and it's gonna rule. Anyway, that's George Whittam for George Whittam YouTube and Bikerowave. Thanks for watching.